What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Welcome to the Atrium Live Demo. I am your host, Pete Kazanji. Sorry, I was a little bit late here. I had to take a quick bio break between the prior meeting and this one. But welcome to the Atrium Live Demo. We're going to get started here in a second. Here, let me go ahead and share my screen. We're going to get into some data-driven sales management stuff. It's going to be super, super, super fun. Wonderful, cool. So we'll do a couple slides here to just kind of set some context for folks, and then we'll get into the Atrium demo itself. So in short, just kind of like set everyone's context here. Atrium makes data-driven sales management software that solely exists to help sales managers, so AE, SDR, AM, CSM managers, use data to improve team performance. One kind of really cool thing about Atrium is that it's super easy to set up. You just log in with your Salesforce credentials, and within 5 minutes, Atrium will show you how your reps are performing across dozens and dozens of metrics. And that's the mechanism by which we help sales managers improve rep performance. One of the things that we like to do here at Atrium is just like raise the bar with respect to sales management and kind of like better sales management acumen in general. One way to do that is, of course, through Wizzy software, which we're going to talk about here in a second. The other way that we do that is through training, and both from our CS organization, but also we work with a fine gentleman named Richard Harris to do monthly manager training sessions, literally around just like being a better manager. So if you're an SDR manager, AE manager, VP of sales, et cetera, and you'd like to join this, normally this sort of thing would cost you like $1,000 to be part of this half-day boot camp. It's on us. We're funding it. So you can sign up there. I think Hannah is going to drop the link in the chat here. And then moreover, if you scan this handy dandy QR code, it should take you to that page. Cool. So let's talk about data-driven sales management stuff. So again, Atrium helps sales managers use data to improve team performance. And so the reason why we do that is because it turns out that sales managers are extremely important to the success of an organization, to the success of a team. And so those high-performing managers are really the difference between a mediocre and underperforming team and a really high-performing team. And this shows up in a variety of different ways through like higher rep productivity, getting more of your reps to high performance. And we'll kind of talk about how that happens. Retaining your reps for longer, which obviously is really important because like a fully ramped rep who attrites is really kind of problematic. And it's like driving higher effort in general. And so it turns out in order for managers to be high performing, there's actually a set of things that they have to do in order to do that. And it's not just deal strategy. Spoiler alert. So there's a variety of these different things that managers need to do. Yes, deal inspection and deal strategy, but also and most AE managers don't really have a problem doing that insofar as they come from being AEs. But there's a number of other things that people have to do as well. So for instance, in your one-on-ones, you should be bringing data to bear in those meetings. You should be tracking progress towards goals, but not just output, right? Bookings, ops graded, et cetera, but also the inputs, right? Activity metrics, quality metrics, et cetera, et cetera. When you have new reps who are ramping, it's extremely important to be tracking the progress of that ramp and getting ahead of it, because it's a very, very fraught time in a new rep's existence at your organization. And then for your scaled reps, it's all about identifying issues in their sales motion or in their behavior and then fixing them, because that's how we up-level teams. And then on the flip side of that coin, taking what your top performers do, and instead of making it like secret sauce, we don't want it to be secret sauce, we want it to be replicable sauce, and we want that to be broadcast to the rest of the team and to be able to standardize across that. And so these set of things end up being the things that you have to do as a sales manager, not to mention all the other kind of crazy things that you have to do, like Joey broke up with Susie, and so-and-so got COVID, and et cetera, et cetera. So in short, being a sales manager is really tough. And so the problem is that most organizations don't really do a great job of enabling those managers to be successful, both from a manager enablement side of things, but also from a tooling standpoint. Most enablement resources are going to reps first. Managers are obviously oftentimes recently promoted individual contributors. And so the challenge, of course, is that most managers and the reps that they were before don't come from an analytical metrical background, which is to be expected, right? And then moreover, what we hand them is like the best case scenario is like a giant wall of charts for them to decipher. And so it's super not surprising that what most ends up happening is most managers kind of cascade back to just doing deals. So instead of doing these things right here, they're only doing this thing right here. And so what our point is that the better way of approaching this is through what we call data-driven sales management, where organizations and managers should have every KPI available to them that they need to do their job. And then moreover, it should be instant out of the box available for them. They shouldn't have to like file a JIRA ticket to get a report. They shouldn't have to like nag sales operations on Slack or whatever. And then moreover, in addition to having every KPI ready available, it should be monitored for them as well. So they should track progress towards goals. There should be early warning alerting on these things. And then moreover, the software should automatically diagnose performance issues. It shouldn't just say, hey, so-and-so's got a bookings problem. It should say, so-and-so's got a bookings problem. It's coming from his win rate as compared to his peers. And then moreover, the reason why his win rate is light is because his conversion rate out of proposal is low compared to everybody else. Right, should do all those things automatically just using statistics. And this is essentially what Atrium does. Moreover, it should just instantly turn on. So that's a little bit of context there. Let's go ahead and get into the product. This is a live Atrium instance right here. And I'm kind of going to walk through this a little bit here. So Atrium is set up kind of like a newspaper, where the most important things are at the top here, kind of the headlines are at the top here. We'll kind of get back to this in like a little bit here. Moreover, what the next up is what is which reps are having issues and which reps potentially could use some kudos there. Moreover, there's tracking of the ability to track weekly, monthly, and quarterly goals on the as well. And then down here, this is what this is kind of where the Legos of Atrium exists. And so this is that KPI library of 100+ KPIs pre-baked out of the box, across everything that you could possibly need for your team. So let's go ahead and look at these a little bit here. So we're going to go ahead and pop into here. We're going to close out of this. And so these, you may notice that the names are a little crazy here. This is real data, but these are like demo character names here. And so this is the entire org chart of an organization. So these are all the account executives right here. We're going to go ahead and add these guys really quick. And then really quickly, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip over to a pretty basic KPI, kind of meetings on calendar here. This is being pulled directly from Google Calendar. And so one of the things you'll note is that I didn't have to make this report. I didn't have to go somewhere and make a SQL query or make a Salesforce report or whatever. It's literally just a couple of clicks here. And so what you can see very quickly is this is all of my reps right here for this manager that we're logged in as, all of their customer facing meetings across the trailing 30 days here. And so really quickly, what I can see is you got these folks right here, got some folks down here that are maybe a little bit lighter here. And so moreover, if I wanted to say, oh, that's interesting that that Carl the robot here is a little light in the trailing 30 days, I wonder how long that's been happening. Well, we could just trail that out by 90 days here, and then moreover trend it. And so one of the things you'll notice, who were we looking at? Carl the robot. Yeah, so Carl the robot was a little light there, right? And we had said, hey, how long has that been the case? Let's go ahead and look at this over time. And it was just a question of a couple of clicks, click, click. Oh, okay, there actually is a concern here. He has been declining over time, but looks like he's rebounded here recently. And so when you compare this to how someone would have to ask the next question using Salesforce reporting or God forbid, kind of traditional BI, it's just wildly simple for a non-technical, non-analytical user like a sales manager, an SDR manager, or a sales leader to be able to use by themselves without any sort of assistance by by sales ops or the data team or whatever. And then moreover, if I wanted to go ahead and look at Carl here and say, oh man, that's interesting. His meeting volume has been falling off there. Was that because his opportunity ownership wasn't where it needed to be? Well, easy enough. I can just jump over here to opportunity ownership, right? Same time period, same humans on the KPI here, and kind of see what was going on. And sure enough, it looks like his opportunity ownership had fallen off. So now I've got an insight here that I can intervene with Carl the robot and do something about it. The last thing I want to show you before we kind of move on from these like Legos here is one thing that Atrium allows you to do is view all of these KPIs from a ramping perspective. And so what that does is that normalizes everybody's start date at time equals 0 here, in order to say, oh, okay, how is this individual ramping as compared to their peers previously? So for instance, we can see Cloak and Dagger here is ramping pretty well, whereas Jesse the Ram and Shun Gong here looks like they need a little bit of TLC from an opportunity ownership standpoint insofar as they're in month 3 here. Cool. So we've kind of been like goofing around in the data here a little bit, but the important thing here is that like Atrium is like, even though you can kind of goof around in the data like we've been doing here, and like, you know, you can configure the org chart however it is that you want. Really what we want to be able to do is to have the software do this for us, right? We don't want people to have to go and look for these things. Instead, what we want to be able to do is to have the software look at these things for us and bring the information to us, so we don't have to like be looking at that wall of charts, but instead insights are coming to us where we can literally understand, oh, okay, here's the issue right here. I'm going to coach to this thing right here. We're going to change the behavior of this rep and we're going to fix things. And so here I am on that team's homepage. This is an account executive homepage right here. You can see that, again, there's the key insights here at the top, and then also which reps are having issues and which reps deserve kudos. And so the way that Atrium knows that something is going on with these reps is by statistically monitoring all those KPIs we were just looking at, right? So, you know, Samson the horse here, Atrium is noting a variety of ways, a variety of KPIs that are potentially a little bit concerning about Samson the horse. So for instance, Samson the horse's average sales cycle, right? So how long it takes for him to close a deal is getting longer and longer. So it's 38% longer than it normally is at this point in time. That's what we call a trend alert. So it's a change in how this person's behavior is happening as compared to themselves historically. Moreover, Samson appears to have a pipeline ownership issue as compared to his peers. This is a peer alert right here, where Atrium is noting that this individual, as compared to the other reps like him, seems to have a 30% lower pipeline ownership in the trailing 30 days than his peers. And you can kind of see the similar things going on with opportunity ownership as well. Right. And so what's happening is none of this had to be, I didn't have to do any of this. The software just did it for me and said, hey, here's the sitch, right? Here's the sitch with Samson the horse. And then moreover, that's different on a rep by rep basis. So this individual right here has a different set of potential issues for me to address. So in this case, this individual is missing their goal, right? This is a goal alert right here, where the number of ops that this individual ought to have right now should be between 15 and 25, and right now he only has 10. Okay, and so again, this is just doing the statistics for me in order to help me understand what's happening there, so I can intervene and say, oh, I need to get this person's op ownership up. I need to get this person's pipeline up right here. The same thing is happening on the flip side as well, where Atrium is noting to me where individuals are having success as compared to, you know, along those vectors. And so for instance, this individual right here, Mrs. Quayle, has a number of positive alerts. So this individual's average selling price is higher than it normally is. So again, that trend alert. This individual also seems to have a substantially higher win rate than their peers. Again, Atrium is just doing this statistically. And then what's really nifty here is that Atrium is also noting what we refer to as a strategy insight. And what that is that Atrium is saying, hey, this individual right here, this seems to be their root cause of what's driving outperformance. So this person has 30% more bookings than their peers, right? Their peer group here. And by the way, it's not because they have more opportunities, right? Same number of opportunities. And by the way, it's not because their ASP is higher. And it's not because they're closing deals faster. Really, like the big difference here is that their win rate is substantially higher than their peers. And so this is an example of that fingerprint of success that I, as a manager, would want to take and then spread across to other folks. Like, hey, Mrs. Quayle, what about your sales motion is driving this higher win rate here? Where are you converting better from an opportunity conversion rate standpoint? Because what we want to do is we want to standardize the whole team across this. And then the last thing we're going to touch on here is goals. And so goals are, and so what's kind of cool about this is you can track progress on goals on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. And so what you can do is you can set a goal on any of those KPIs that we were talking about earlier. So for instance, this organization has a goal set of 30 to 40 opportunities owned on a per rep basis. And what you can see is that the team is a little bit light here, right? And we're kind of, and then moreover, what you can see is the number of you set goals on a monthly and a quarterly basis as well, and then Atrium will track progress towards that. And so this is a way better way of tracking progress towards goals than having to like use your eyeballs in order to kind of sniff that information out. Cool. So I told you it was going to be a quick little nickel tour for everybody. I hope you enjoyed the live demo here. As I noted earlier, Atrium is extraordinarily easy to turn on. Like it literally takes 5 minutes to turn on. You just go to Atrium. Here, I'll just show you really quickly. You just go to atriumhq.com and you can just sign up for a free account and get started. And then so if you're into it right now, go ahead and do that, and you'll be able to see those dozens of metrics for your teams. And then lastly, like I was saying earlier, if you're interested in either you or one of the AE managers or SDR managers, or AE or SDR leaders on your team, joining our sales management bootcamp, our half-day sales management bootcamp run by Richard Harris. Totally complimentary, sponsored by Atrium. Normally it would be $1,000. Just go ahead and click that link in the chat, and then moreover, you can scan this QR code here. So thanks everybody for taking the time, and have a great rest of your week.